Hey everybody, AM 1230 WJOB here in Hammond, Indiana, also JED.TV. We are actually a commercial radio station on the campus of the Purdue Northwest Commercialization and Manufacturing Excellence Center, and from time to time we get some pretty cool people coming through on some symposiums and conferences and so forth. It's a big $5 million center. They got robotics manufacturing. You've got advanced media here. We've got media classes. You have innovation and commercialization center. So just a lot of stuff going on in here. And on a regular basis, we've been having the smart grid folks come in here. And we got a few of them today. It's the Consortium for Rapid Grid Impact, for Rapid Smart Grid Impact. Basically, the Smart Grid Symposium is what it is. It's the 5th workshop and symposium, and it's here at Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. You can see the cars going back in the background, or if you're listening in audio, we are right here, smack dab on US 41, right outside our windows. We are delighted to have this. I've done this before, and every time we learn a little bit about what's going on in terms of smart grids. But we do have from the Purdue Northwest campus here, we have Atula Kulatunga. Am I saying that right, Atula?
Yep.
All right, so move on up to that microphone. This is your 5th time. You guys do these. Just give everybody an overview of what smart grid means.
Yeah, smart grid has many aspects. So it include access to the electrical power and improving energy efficiency of electrical grid system and appliances, and also introduced in distributed generation for electrical energy, and also developing economic models that can be sustained throughout the world, so people will be able to use them like a business,
So what I get out of this, and even doing this before, is that there's an efficiency to the electric grid that can be maximized, not just here in America, but obviously you've got, I think, Costa Rica now, you've got Brazil, you've got England has been here before, you've got a couple of other countries, Argentina, and they're all kind of signing on to this global initiative. I mean, what's the end game? What are you guys really trying to accomplish here?
Right. If you look at many countries, they don't have access to electrical power. And the Human Development Index is directly related to the electrical energy consumption. So the United States and many European countries are, very high, 0.9 of the index, and then the other countries way below that one. So it's a 0 to 1 scale. But US, even though we have 1, we consume about 15,000 kilowatt hours per year per person. And if you take UK and many European countries, about 5,000 kilowatt hours per,
Is that a yearly figure? Or?
Yes, annually. So when you look at that figures, there's something wrong in the picture, because we have the same living conditions like Europeans, and we consume a lot more. So there's an opportunity for us to evaluate how we consume and waste our energy. At the same time, many other countries who want to move up in the ladder to consume more energy means that they have to use energy sources. So this is the challenge. So if they wanted to use the same rate as we do in the US, this will be a disaster, 15,000 kilowatt hours per person per year, versus many countries, like if you look at Brazil, it's about, not even 1/10 of that. So then, and the living index is around 0.5, 0.6. So as they move up the ladder, you have to consume more electrical energy. So the question we have to ask is, where does this energy come from? How efficiently we are using it? Because efficiency is the number 1 pillar we need to address in this one. And then how we're going to find the energy. So if you don't really do the energy part correctly, efficiency part, then it's just like pouring water into a bucket with a hole. Everything will drain.
And that's kind of what happens in America sometimes with our inefficiency. Let's talk to Muyiwa. Muyiwa is from England. I'm going to say it like an American. I'm going to say Leicester, but it's not it. It's Leicester. Move on up to that mic a little bit tighter. Okay. All right, we're talking about, America, 15,000 kilowatts per person. I saw you giving the symposium here a little bit. What's it like in England? How efficient are you guys?
We're efficient. We are always trying to be more efficient, so we're never there. So basically, the UK government, we have policies. We always devise policies, and also the EU, hands down policies that make sure we keep our consumption low. So, for example, we have things like the climate change levy. We have we have things. We have policies, targets for 2020 to cut down our emissions to 20% of what it was in 1990. We have
20% of 1990 is the,
levels,
is the
yeah.
emission level by 2020?
Yeah, greenhouse
Wow.
gas emissions.
And go back to that climate change levy. We talk a lot about public policy here on a non-energy related. What is that? Is it basically a tax if you're emitting too much or using too much, or what is that?
Yes, exactly. So for big organizations where you have the more you emit, the more you pay. Yeah. So
The more you emit, the more you pay.
yeah.
So in the UK, I know we talk a lot about the United States, a lot of coal, a lot of nuclear, that kind of stuff. Where does most of the power come in the UK?
So it's a mix. So you have nuclear, you have gas, you have coal. But what it is now is that most of the power stations, about 25% of the power stations in the UK are reaching the end of life. So by 2020, about 25 of them would have reached the end of life. So what it is that we're trying to increase the mix of renewables. So yeah.
And
It's
you're
wind,
trying
solar.
wind, solar. You're trying to increase the mix of the renewable
Renewables on the
energy
grid, yeah.
sources. I know we're going to go to Brazil. I know they have a lot of hydroelectric power. You don't have the dams and so forth and the high cliffs that they do. But what kind of what are some of the more promising renewable sources that the UK is looking at?
Wind is one of them because of the high wind speeds we have, and offshore, especially off the coast of Scotland.
Mhm.
Yeah, so wind seems to be the biggest contributor. Yeah.
And in terms of the efficiency of the electrical grid in and of itself, I mean, is it considered one of the more efficient grids? It's got to be older. I mean, it's probably one of the first ones, right, in the world. So, I mean, how does it stand up? You run against here, right down the street here. You can see all the smokestacks right down the way. We have very old infrastructure, and sometimes, the local power company, they're going through right now and just replacing all that. How does UK stand up?
So presently, the UK's the power sector contributes about 27% to greenhouse gas emissions, and so they're trying to reduce it. We're trying to reduce it. In terms of efficiency, I think the grid is quite efficient. It's reliable, although what we are not fully, would I say, prepared for is in terms of security of supply. So we still have to import some of our.
You're importing some of the electric,
Yeah, we can import from France.
and
electricity
that
directly.
grid. I mean, just so everybody understands, I mean, there's connections across the
Yeah,
channel
yeah,
to
exactly.
these various countries.
That's correct, and also.
And who manages all that?
Well, we're part of for now we're still part of the European Union, so we have a lot of agreements and things that
I
we
can't
work
even
together.
I can't even imagine the complexity of that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about to the guys from Brazil, and we got Denicio. How you doing?
All right, yourself?
Okay, Denicio, you guys are here again
Yep.
to the Smart Grid conference. You guys were here last time, and what'd you pick up last time that you want to learn more about?
Yeah, but this is a project of 2 years, so we have been working together, and this workshop's a part of this project. So the main part of this project, I would say, is put people together to think about solutions, how to work with technology. We have a problem in Brazil, let me just tell you, that we are a quite uneven country. So we don't have the same consumption in the rural areas, for example, as we have in the urban. So we have some proposals to make people living better when they don't have access to energy, or even if they have access but they don't have quality. So the project is all about that. So to try to put people with the same level of use of quality of energy.
All right, we talked to Athulo about U.S., the Human Development Index related directly to the availability of electrical power. Obviously, the U.K. is a pretty developed country for many, generations, many centuries, actually. So you get to Brazil, a much lower HDI, Human Development Index, and you've got a real low usage kilowatt hours. I mean, what do you do with that situation? What are you
Yeah.
trying to get done?
But first, we have to say that as we are an even country, we have in the south the same average as you have here in a developed country. See, the problem is when you go to north of the country, you have a very spread people and live in remote areas, so they don't have this access as easy as we have, for example, in São Paulo state, that were the place that we come from. So the thing is, the Brazilian people, they are 95% connected to the electrical grid. But if you go to rural areas, this number comes down to 60%. So what we try to do is to improve the access. So yes, we have the problem with the index, the human index, but it's not the same in all countries, see? So if you go to industrialized places in the country, you have the same level as you have here. If you go to north of Brazil and you find the rainforest and even remote areas, it would be much more difficult to take energy to these people. So that's the point.
Dionisio's from Brazil, along with Danielle. Danielle is here last time. Final thing here about Brazil. You don't only got to carry it to people, you got to generate it. It's interesting, though, that you guys do have quite a bit of hydroelectric generation.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, what's the mix in Brazil?
Yeah, actually now we have almost around 7% of the energy produced by hydroelectric power plants. And we are now under construction some more hydroelectric power plants. But as Atula told, the amount of energy that is spent in Brazil is 1/10 of is what you use here in US. If we had to supply the same amount as energy as you have here, we will not be able with the natural resources that we have. Only in hydroelectric, of course, then the share of hydroelectric energy will be much lower. But in the actual situation, we have this possibility to have almost 7% with hydroelectric.
70,
Yeah,
right? 70%. And I found that pretty amazing last time these guys were in, and I still find that pretty amazing that 70% of their power grid is hydroelectric. So anything else you want to add to that, Danielle?
Yeah, and since we have the sugarcane production and things, and we are using also the biomass from this, and we are almost reaching around 20% also with this biomass.
20%
Yeah.
biomass
Yeah,
and 70% hydroelectric.
Yes.
So we are here at the Rapid Smart Grid Impact. It's the Smart Grid conference. It comes here to the Purdue Commercialization and Manufacturing Excellence Center. And that's another, perhaps the United States can learn something from that, Athula?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn.
They learn from us and we learn from them.
There you go. So once again, here it is in April of 2016, the Smart Grid Conference at the Purdue Northwest Commercialization and Manufacturing Excellence Center. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
for having us.
And thank you for watching and or listening.